Are you seeking a better way to accelerate your sales, to scale your business, to live a life with no limits? Accelerate Sales Podcast features global experts who have cracked the code to recurring revenues with proven sales systems and get you on the fast track to scaling. Now let's accelerate your sales with today's episode.
Hello, I'm Paul Higgins, and welcome to the Accelerate Sales Solo podcast, episode number 427. Today's topic is 5 traps to avoid the cash flow crisis. You will learn what they are, how to escape them, and also where to get some help. So if it's your first time, welcome. And if you love what you hear, please subscribe. If you're a regular, thanks for your support. Always appreciate every review I get. Please check out past shows on your favorite platform. Just search Accelerate Sales. And don't forget those wonderful interview shows. And before we start, I'd like to talk about our free Slack community for cloud consultants. It's peers helping other peers to run a business better. And it's less on the technical side. It's more on the business side. And it's a fantastic community, and we'd love to have you in it if you're a cloud consultant. So just go to cloudconsultantscollective.com to join for free today. As a business owner for 11 years, I know that out of revenue, profit, and cash flow, which one I lost more sleep over. And sometimes I still do. And that's certainly cash flow, right? And that feeling when you have tax to pay and there's no cash in the bank, or you've payrolls due and the bank accounts are bare, or something else. You want to go and invest in marketing, or you want to go invest in an expert that you'll know will help grow, but you just don't have the cash in the business to be able to afford it. And what about for you? What are the triggers that occur to you when you worry about cash? I'm interested to know. You can just email me at paul@paulhigginsmentoring.com. So what I'm going to do is go through the 5 traps most cloud consultants make, including me in the past when I ran my cloud consulting business, and most importantly, how to avoid them. So trap 1 is referrals. They're great, right? We all rely on referrals at some point, but they sometimes are hard to get and they're not as predictable. And often you can't scale the referrals as quick as you'd like. And I've heard the quote before where hope is not a strategy, right? And if you're hoping your referrals are going to land in your lap, chances are they probably won't when you really need them. And, this is how, it can really get quite demanding when you can't get those referrals, right? So how to avoid it? The first thing is you've got to do some form of outbound. Now, these days, LinkedIn is probably the best form of outbound. I've got many podcasts. So if you just search LinkedIn, you'll get all the podcasts that I've done on it before. But I think that's absolutely critical. And it's not just LinkedIn. You can use LinkedIn as the research tool and then actually find people and email. The next is your strategic partners, right? So who goes before you, who goes after you, that can be a fantastic strategic partner, because you can be very collaborative with them and you can both win, right? But the cost of getting a client, because it's one to many, is a lot less. And then the last is your SaaS partner, right? So you may think, oh, I'm too small of a partner, I don't really know how to leverage. There's definitely things you can do, and there's certain things. I won't go into the detail now, but there's great things you can do to actually be more front of mind with the SaaS partner. And I am going to cover one of them in the future and, in this podcast. So stay tuned for that. So trap number 2 is owner in delivery, right? And you're probably nodding your head now. To improve the quality, you spend more time on the job, because you're the person that started the business. You know it better than anything, and some of the clients you've actually had for a long time, so you really want to do a great job for them. And then scope creep often happens, right? Or you go out of scope to please them. And the unfortunate thing is the highest paid resource in the business is actually you, right? So that has a big impact on your cash flow, and also the opportunity cost of not selling. Right? Because if you're stuck in delivery, you're not selling, and selling is what's going to bring in revenue and more cash flow, right? So it's sort of a double-edged sword. So how to avoid it? The first is have firm boundaries around your SOWs, right? And, the firmer you can be up front, the better it's going to be. It's a bit like, to me, as a parent, I used to always joke, my kids would say, "Dad, can I have lollies?" when they were at the counter, or treats. And I'd say, no, thanks for asking, but no. And I did that ever since they could understand me talking. And I never had an issue because I just set up the boundaries to begin with. The other one is dedicate time to sales. So if it's 2 hours a day or whatever it may be, and that creates a positive constraint because you've already got that in your diary. You have to do that. Then it means that you don't have as much time to get stuck into over-servicing your clients. Okay, so we've gone through two so far. We've gone through referrals, and the other is owner in delivery. So the third one is team. So the time it takes to hire people can be a really big drain on your cash flow. And also because often if you're in a really sticky situation, you've got to hire someone. And often when you're desperate, you've got to pay more, right? And also the flip side is you might be paying or hiring people too early, and then you carry a bench and that bench becomes expensive. And the other thing is that training. Right? Now, training can be a real drain on cash flow in the short term, so that can really eat in, and you've got to make sure you forecast for that. So how to avoid it? One is have a brilliant onboarding program for your new team members, right? And that can include a lot of video. It can include training by other people, not just you, right? But the better you've got your standard operating procedures, and I know you've heard this before, and I know as a business owner, I was lucky my business partner took care of them, but the better your SOPs, the quicker you're going to be able to train people and get them up to speed, right? Which will mean that less cash drain. The other thing is have your system. So I don't care what systems you use, but you should be using a project management system and make sure that there's repeatable tasks in there so people aren't relying as much on their memory. They're actually, you're making it easy for them. The other one is have a buddy system, and this works really well. From the Noah's Ark principle where you've got two of everything. So if one person leaves, sick, whatever happens, you got someone else that can do the job. But also they'll pick up on things that they can improve by seeing someone else do it. And the last is always be recruiting. Of done podcasts on this in the past, but always be recruiting, and that will definitely help. So before I continue with 4 and 5, I'd like to talk to you about SendSpark.com. It's a personalized video platform, and what I love about it is it lets you sort of wave at the start with an animated GIF. Says how long it's going for, but what you can also do in a new feature is you can combine videos. So you could send a generic video out to everyone, but it can have your own personalized message at the start, right? So a great way to do that. It runs nice and seamless, and it's really easy to pick them on the platform. So why not check it out for yourself? Go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/SendSpark, and there's 6 months free, which I think is a cracking deal. Okay, so far we've gone through referrals, we've gone through owner in delivery, we've gone through team, we've gone through those 3 traps, so 2 left. So trap number 4 is rework. So you bring in the team, and at the start all is good, but all of a sudden you realize they're not doing it up to the standard that you're used to or the standard that you think you should do it, so you jump back in the job, right? And unfortunately, that means, once again, the highest paid person is actually the person that's doing it, and you're also paying them and they're not doing the work. So that's a drain on cash flow, right? And the other thing is you don't really hold them accountable. It's a bit like before with the lollies, right? You basically let something go, and then all of a sudden it becomes bigger and bigger. And ultimately, you start to accept underperformance, and that is so hard to break once that's happened. So what can you do to avoid the rework? One is go and read a book called The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. And I think there's another author as well, but Ken's sort of the main person that I remember. And that's brilliant. Just a very simple book, very easy to, it's easy to understand the methodology, harder to implement, but I do that. The other thing is give instant feedback, right? So as soon as your team do something that you know is not right, give them instant feedback. And document that, right? The positives that they do well, but also the things they can improve on. So then in your performance review, if that's maybe every quarter, every 3 months, you can go back to that. But make sure that it's instant. Don't wait a week or month or whatever. And the person you say, well, why didn't you just tell me that in the start, right? The other thing is having your learning systems up and running. And the last one is a really good QA system, right? Humans make mistakes. I know it's not a great analogy, but I don't believe there's a plane that's ever crashed that hasn't been operated by a human, right? So, we all make mistakes. So have really good QA to help with that rework. All right, so the last but not least is the trap number 5, which is a broad market. So you get desperate. You need cash flow. So all of these other 4 have kicked in and you think, okay, well, I'll just go and take anything or anybody, which you sort of did at the start of the business, right? So that leads to a high cost of sales because each different vertical, each different industry, etc. You got to relearn the problems, so it's costing you a lot more to do that. Also, it means that there's less testimonials, which slows down the cash flow from the deals that you close at the front end. And also, you may have heard this, but confused buyers never buy, right? So it also makes the cycle a lot longer. So what do you need to do to avoid those? One is make sure you specialize, right? Pick a niche or a niche and really specialize on that. Make sure there's a really good client qualification process, right? Even if you're the one qualifying your clients, you can actually check in with the team if it's the case. And for bigger projects, you might even have an application. And I always believe that it's better to be a big fish in a small pond. So we've got some great people that are working on Zoho, for example, and they just focus on insurance. That's it, and a particular type of insurance. So what were the 5 traps to avoid the cash flow crisis? So 1 is referrals, 2 is owner and delivery, 3 is team, 4 is rework, and then the 5th is a broad market. All right, so what I want you to do is take 3 key actions from today. So 1 is go and implement, or firstly, go and see where you're leaking cash. Is it referrals? Is it owner and the delivery? Is it team? Is it rework? Is it a broad market approach? And fix that. The next is go and implement some of those actions that I said to avoid it. Right, and if you've got any questions, just email me at paul@paulhigginsmentoring.com and I'm happy to give you help. So you can get all the links in the show notes at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast, episode 427 on the app that you're listening to. Please follow me on LinkedIn to get good quality content. And if you want content that's specifically for you, that's not just the podcast and also the LinkedIn, but it's other value that we give, just go to and join my newsletter, which is paulhigginsmentoring.com/newsletter. If you know someone interested in getting more cash in the business to have less sleepless nights, please share it with them. They'll think you're an absolute rock star. And if you're a cloud consultant or know someone and you know you want a community that really supports you, go to cloudconsultantscollective.com. Please take action to accelerate your sales.
I'm fired up after today's episode. What about you? But hey, before you go, learning is just one piece of the puzzle. Now it's time to put today's strategy into action. Head over now to today's show page at paulhigginsmentoring.com/podcast and share how you'll put it into action. Be sure to head over to your favorite podcast platform and subscribe, rate, and review the show. Tell me what your favorite episode is. And don't wait 1 minute more to gain access to your pulse check at paulhigginsmentoring.com. This could be the difference between struggling to get more leads and making this next quarter your best one yet.